What is cosmic will and what is free will? Is free will the same as cosmic will, or is there anything like cosmic will which is predestined? It is subject of a whole long lecture, maybe for the whole day. But briefly stated, when we are in the physical world, we have an experience called free will, and it is real. It's absolutely real. We make choices. So somebody sitting here says, I have no free will, is a liar, because he is exercising free will. When a person says, I have no free will, I point out to you, you just did this out of your free will. You could have said, I have free will. You could have said, I don't have free will. You just use your free will to give that answer to me. So long as we are in the physical world, free will is a reality for us. If it were not a reality, we could get nothing out of seeking. Then we would say, we have no free will even to seek. How can seeking yield any results if we have no free will? When I say seek and you will find, seeking is an act of free will. Therefore, free will in this physical world is real. No matter what we say, free will is real. You remember I presented the choice to a friend of mine who discovered there is no free will. And his argument was actually based on theistic ideas of faith in God. He was at Harvard University and bright student, called me one morning, said, I have discovered you have no free will. The argument for discovering that was, if God knows everything, and I believe in God, and I believe God's definition, that He is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, present everywhere, all-powerful, and knows everything. Take the third part, knows everything. Does He know what we are going to decide? When we use free will, does God know what we are going to decide? If He knows, how do we have free will? If He knows already what you're going to decide, you don't have a real free will. You have an experience of free will, and God really knows what He made you decide. So He has somewhere written up what you will decide when you think you have free will, because you don't know. You don't know God. You're not in touch with God. So you can't verify. So on that basis, this friend of mine said, if God knows everything, we can't possibly have free will. I said, will you come to my apartment and we'll check it out a little further? He came. I played a trick on him, as I told you earlier. I put a cup of coffee and a cup of tea and an empty cup on a tray. And when he came, I presented to him, will you have tea or coffee or nothing? I've got all 3 cups. And don't use your free will because you don't have any. You can't. Don't use free will. Now tell me. He was stumped with that. He said, you have stumped my whole discovery by just putting 3 cups. I thought that I have discovered something really basic. I said, I will prove to you 2 ways. That you have free will. That is one that you just found out by making a choice. When you make a choice, you have free will. And secondly, that when you say I have free will or not free will, when you wrote to me I don't have free will, you exercise your free will to write that. You had a choice to write something else. Both times you used free will. Now I want to argue against free will. First argument you already given me. If God has knowledge already of what we are going to do, we don't have a real free will because we don't know God, we don't know what His will is, therefore we think we have free will. Okay, God knows, so it's not real free will. Second argument, more scientific argument, more empirical, more down-to-earth argument I'll give you, that when you say you have free will and make a choice, how does your brain work to decide what to take? I said, will you have tea or coffee? And you are freely deciding, without any influence of anybody. That's called free will. Nobody is telling you what to do. You are deciding, should I take coffee or should I take tea? And then you say, okay, I'll take coffee. What made you decide that? Look into the factors of choice in your head. You will notice all factors of choice are either hereditary, genetic, or environmental. Either you have inherited the genes of your father, grandfather who liked coffee, and you like coffee, and it's in your genetic sequence, or you have been exposed to people who had coffee, you became accustomed to coffee and drank it. There is no third factor. When you make a choice between tea and coffee, these two are the only factors in your head which enable you to make a choice. And both those factors are totally fixed and inalterable when you're making a choice. You can't change your genetic makeup, nor can you change the environment through which you have passed. You have really no free will. If I could read your genetic sequences, and if I could read the environment through which you have gone, I could have written beforehand, out of free will, he will choose coffee only. So where is the free will? So it looks like free will. Free will that we exercise here appears to be free will, but it's wonderful that it appears to be free will, which makes us a seeker and makes us go to our true home. Even our seeking and going to true home is predestined. We predestined it. I told you on day one that we made this arrangement ourselves. It's predestined by ourselves, by our own totality. Nobody else made it. But today we are experiencing it as that is separate from us. God is separate from us. We are going to higher self. Even our higher self is separate from us. By this separation, we are creating an experience of free will as a physical free will. Now, about cosmic free will. What is cosmic free will? Cosmic free will is in different ranges depending on what is the cosmos. If you say this universe, then the big galaxies and the different suns and moons and planets, all this universe is the cosmos, then free will is real. You're acting within this cosmos. The physical free will is that cosmic free will. But if you go to a higher cosmos, where the whole this cosmos will be created, if you go to the astral cosmos, you will find that you did not really have free will. What you thought you were deciding was already there. You'll be able to look into the future and say, wow, that's how I was making my decisions. I thought I was making my fresh decisions. Now, these were being made according to a pattern that was already existing. I told you once earlier about my own encounter with a turbaned man in 1948 who met me. It was 1947 that we had to leave our homes because of the partition of India into India and Pakistan. And we were all leaving our homes and running away. We had no homes and we were rushing. I was in the Dera for many days, traveled by train. On top of the train, big crowds were going, reached New Delhi, running around looking for a place to live in. We were refugees. At that time I met one man and he said, good luck. I said, my friend, you are Indian? I told in Punjabi. You are Indian Punjabi, I am Indian Punjabi. Why are you speaking English? Why are you saying good luck? He says, because I see good luck in your future. I said, really? Can you tell me how you can see the future? He said, well, give me some money. I said, I knew it's a money game. He said, I didn't say how much. I said, I'll give you 1 paisa, which was less than a cent in Indian currency. I had one piece of that. I put in his pocket, in his hand, and he closed his hand. And he says, I have met you today and spoken to you 29 days from today. This was in January of 1948. In 29 days, you will get an information by telegram, which will be good news for you. And that's why I said good luck. 29 days after that, you will get bad news. And that will make you distressed, because it will be very bad news for you. 29 days after that, I will meet you to check out if these two events have happened. And if they've happened, I will receive the balance of my payment. I dismissed that idle talk. Let him have his penny. And I moved on. I was trying to find some work, some business, and I was trying to do any kind of business at that time because I had no job. Everything I had left out behind in Lahore, which went into Pakistan. So having nothing with me, I joined hands with a another doctor. I had some experience in homeopathic remedies and he had experience in allopathy doctor. We joined hands together and we decided that we should do some business together. And we said we can open a clinic. I said I can distribute some products for sale. I applied for, where I and Dr. West tried to set up a clinic, I asked for a distributorship of tea, which was being made in South India. It's a different kind of tea, and I said I can distribute it in North India. And I received a telegram, you have been appointed distributor of our tea. I was happy. Telegram? What date is it? 29 days after I met that man. That's amazing. Then I prepared myself for bad news. 29 days later, I got information on the 2nd of April that my master has passed away in his physical body. That was quite a shock. Although the master was with me, I couldn't see him. But the physical form looks even wonderful, more wonderful when you've seen the inner form. It's not that the physical forms become unnecessary. You have so much experience of the master inside. The physical form looks even better while you are in the physical body. So it was something I missed, and I said, this is really, the man was right. How could he possibly now see me? We went and set up a clinic about 45 miles out of Delhi in a town called Meerut. We set up a clinic jointly, and one day the allopathic doctor said, we need supplies of surgical supplies and these supplies. Will you go and get these from one of the pharmaceutical stores in Delhi? So I went that day to get from the store. I was just outside the store and somebody hit me on the back. I looked around, same guy. He said, this is the third 29th day. I was so stunned by that. I said, how could he guess things like my master's passing away? How could he possibly know these things? It's impossible for anybody to know these things so much in advance. I said, I am totally indebted to you for what you have shown me. You have proven to me that predestiny is written somewhere that you could read and you could give me this information. Otherwise, I can't imagine anybody knowing this. He said, give me the balance of the money. I took out $5. I said, here's $5. He said, not $5? You know, I said, I am a refugee, I've come to buy some supply. He says, in that right pocket of yours is $75. I said, this fellow is very clever. Take $75. This was one incident that shocked me. After that, I was trying for different jobs. And I applied for the Navy, Indian Navy, and I went to Lucknow, another town, another state, for an interview. And after the interview was over, I came out and I found another guy, similar to this one. Good luck. I said, this is again another fellow. Let's see what he's going to say now. So he said, do you have a piece of paper? I said, yes. I had a lot of papers in my bag. I gave a piece of paper. He looked at my eyes and began to write something. And after that, he folded it up. Said, hold it in your hand. The folded paper. I held it in my hand. Do you have more paper? I said, of course, there is more paper. He said, this new paper now, write a number between 1 and 10. And I said, this is a very old trick we used to play as kids also. Write a number quickly between 1 and 10. We all write 5. Middle number. I said, this is what he's expecting me to do. Now, I'm not going to be caught. I'll call off his bluff. I'll write 3. So I wrote 3. He said, write the name of a flower. I said, he expects me to write the most common flower, rose. He thinks I will write rose. I am going to write the name of a flower this guy may never have heard of. So I knew flower, we knew. It actually is a jasmine species called chameli. So that's a popular flower in Punjab. So I said, I'll write chameli. So I wrote Chameli in English. He said, write your date of birth. I wrote 1926. He said, that's your year of birth. Write your date. So normally, in India, we write the date first, then the month, and then the year. Here we write the month first, date first, but year is always at the end. I wrote the date and the month later after that. He said, open the paper I gave you earlier. I opened the paper. It said 3, Chabeli, 1926, and then the date. I said, I can't believe how you could write this when I even hadn't decided about it. I had not used my free will to decide what to write. While I was still stunned with this discovery that he knew this thing, he said, shall I tell you more? I said, go ahead. He said, when I asked you to write a number between 1 and 10, you said he's expecting me to write 5. And I am going to call off his bluff and I will write 3. And then you wrote 3. He knew even the thought sequence by which I wrote. And he knew it before I ever wrote, before I ever thought. And when you said, write the name of a flower, he is expecting me to write rose, and I will not write rose. I'll write the name of a flower, which he had never heard of. He repeated all these words. He repeated exactly the thinking that I had, and the thinking was done after he had written everything. That was the clearest proof I had that he's reading from somewhere. It is already pre-written, what I thought was my free will. I said, where did you learn this kind of method that you can know somebody? I can know people who can read your mind. Read your mind is, when you're thinking, they can also know what you're thinking. Telepathically, people can read your mind. But how can somebody read your mind when you haven't even used your mind? When you haven't even thought something? An evidence that I can't forget, that there is a place where it is pre-written, what you will think, what you will decide. If that is true, then free will is not actually real. Written somewhere, it's only an experience we are having here. When you go to the astral plane, you will find it's all written there. But there is, now is that a cosmic will? It could be called cosmic will because pre-written. And we are all following the cosmic will. Free will stays within the cosmic will. But supposing you have a master or a very holy person who has powers to go to astral plane and change destinies. And there are people who change destinies. And you go for divine intervention in some problem of yours. Master, I can't do this. This is my horoscope. This is my chart. It says I'm going to go through this illness. Can you help? Okay, I'll pray to Master, pray to God and help you. And your destiny changes. And you say, wow, see? Even pre-written destiny can be changed. And you go and see that in the astral plane, it has actually changed. That what was a destiny pre-written which you had read earlier, second time you're reading, is changed. So that means there is some kind of free will, at least at that level, that you can change it by divine intervention. Then you meditate more and go to the causal plane. And you find even the divine intervention was also written there. That even that was pre-written. So it depends what you call cosmic will. If the will is at the very top of creation of the experience of free will here, it's all pre-written there. Pre-written by who? By ourselves. Now, if it is all pre-written by ourselves, should we call it our free will or not? If you are a spiritual person, you will say yes. I don't know here, I am making choices here. But actually, the will was written somewhere else. I wrote it, but I wrote it not here, but somewhere else. I came prepared by pre-writing my destinies, and I'm now experiencing it because I love to find, I love making choices. I love the freedom to make choices. And I created such a beautiful way to create freedom of choice. How did I create? Very simple method. We employed the simplest of methods to create the experience of free will by becoming ignorant of the future. That's very simple. If we knew the future here, there would be no free will. Just by blocking our knowledge of the future, we don't know what's going to happen. Therefore, we say we are deciding what will happen. Just by becoming ignorant, we created a wonderful experience of free will. I say ignorance is bliss. Cosmic will is the ultimate will, then we are part of it. Even that cosmic will, where we made choices, what destiny to have, is also pre-written in our true home. In the true home, when we are one, the whole thing was pre-written. The whole show is created in one instant which we are playing out in time and space.